Are you looking for a fun Christmas DIY? Make your own glass Christmas tree with just a little bit of crushed glass and a little bit of resin. Watch my video for some of my top tricks for flawless results every time. Let's get started. But I'm just going to seal it with Mod Podge. And the reason I want to seal the wood is so that the resin does not just soak into the wood, but you want to seal your wood so that the resin just doesn't soak into the wood and darken it. Because if any of it seeps between the glass, your wood will turn dark. And it's just not a good look. Because I add a lot of resin to my glass because I don't want any of the glass seeping out. Like the last thing you want, and I'm going to repeat this again in the video, but the last thing you want is to sell a tree and then a customer walks out of your booth and there's glass tinkling everywhere. You don't want that. Okay, so the nice thing about this is I can go ahead and start putting my stuff down, my glass, without waiting for this Mod Podge to dry. Now, if I wanted to, I could paint the background a different color, but I kind of like just going with natural wood. I haven't done very many natural wood ones in a while. I think this is pallet wood because I can see the holes. So I think this is pallet wood. I don't think this is a fence board. I've already got my glass crushed. I do crush this myself. No, it is not sharp. It's jaggedy. It's more like a butter knife. So if you get a slivery piece, like a really thin piece, but this is beer bottle glass. This is wine bottle glass. I think one of these is bright green, maybe Perrier or Pellegrino. I'm not sure. The wine and the beer bottles, I may or may not have help drinking it. No, seriously. My neighbors save them for me and drop them off at my front door. It's really nice. So I'm just gonna spread this out. The amount of glass that you use is going to depend on how big your board is and how thick you want your glass. I don't really like mine to be very, very thick because then you have to use more resin and then your cost of materials goes up and you have to charge more if you're selling these. So I just go with, ooh, I don't like that right there. It's really thin. Let me spread that out. So you just want to be mindful of how much glass you use. And I think I like that. I'm going to use the Bond Crafter Tabletop, which is my favorite resin for these crushed glass trees. And I want to mix up 50 for this tree because I think I am going to end up covering the board. Possibly, maybe. I don't know. I kind of want to leave it plain. But I'm going to mix up 50 anyway, and if I have extra, I can always fill this little mold. So, all right, first thing I'm going to do is set my star. I'm just going to put a little bit of resin on the back and plop it in there. And then the same with my trunk. A little bit on the back, set it in place. And then I start at the same place and work my way down. So I'm going to start at the edges and work my way down. And then that way I know I've got everything covered. Oops, I haven't missed a spot. Because the last thing you want is for a customer to walk out of your booth. Oh, I think I'm going to use a spoon. I'm getting too many drips. I'm going to use my silicone spoon. So the last thing you want is a customer coming in your booth buying a tree and then they've got loose glass going everywhere. You don't want that. So get your edges, because your edges are going to seal everything in. I'm going to go right now and clean up a couple of little drips I have that are going to wipe right up because I have sealed my board. Just like that. Okay. What you can also do, but take your stick and you can always reshape your tree if it's just gotten a little bit out of whack, but this one's fine. I think it's okay. I've got plenty of resin on here. Plenty. I got a little bit of seepage around the edge. Not worried about that at all. Right. You know, I always like to put ornaments on my trees, and I've been using a lot of beads, but I got these bead strands on Amazon. They're multicolored, and it comes in a great big bag. It comes in this great big bag. They're individual strands, and some of them are really chunky, and I think they're all tangled up like typical Christmas lights would be. But this is what I got. So I'm just going to pick one pretty much at random. So these are going to be like, you know, kind of like a Christmas tree that you would have multicolored lights on. And I'm picking strands completely at random because I want it to be random. Now, some of these I might not use because they're a little bit chunky. Like, I don't think I'm going to use these. That, to me, I don't know, maybe. That might be a little bit too chunky. But I think the rest of these are pretty cool. Some pinks. Just, I don't want the dark ones. I want the brighter ones so that they look more like multicolored lights. And I think these are going to stick because there's a good bit of resin on here. So I think these are going to stick. If they don't, I can always come back and add a little bit, maybe some UV resin, but I think they will stick. That's a lot of ornaments. I think they will stick. Okay, let that cure up overnight and we're going to check on it tomorrow.
This is a classic Christmas tree look with just simple ornaments and nothing more. It doesn't need it. These sell really well at art and craft shows, but I've actually made this one for myself. Okay, make it a crafty day, friends. Bye.